Good morning, folks, and welcome back to Wishwell Farms. Today we're going to be harvesting all sorts of vegetables in preparation for this weekend's farmers markets. My name is Jason. Thanks for joining me today on the farm. We need to get some water flowing because it is dry out there. As I've mentioned in several other prior videos, we are in severe drought conditions now, but fortunately it's nearing the end of the season and most of the crops have run their course. However, we still have beautiful bell peppers to harvest and broccoli and cauliflower. So I've been running the water for about 5 or 6 hours every day to make sure they're getting the moisture they need. Peppers, we'll probably harvest those until we get a good frost. That could be mid-October. Broccoli and cauliflower, we haven't even started harvesting those yet. They're starting to get sized up. We just need some cooler nights to help size up those heads so we can start harvesting them. We were hoping to harvest a bunch today for farmers markets this Saturday, 2 days from now. But they're not going to be quite big enough. I'm sure we're going to get a couple dozen heads, but it's looking like it's going to be next week before we get a decent, sizable harvest out of our broccoli and cauliflower patch. So, we desperately need rain, and it doesn't look like there's any in the forecast coming our way. So we're irrigating what we can with the water that we have available. We have no overhead irrigation. We're just doing the trickle tape, the drip tape under the plastic mulch on some of our remaining crops left in the field. So now that we're nearing the end of our season, we have less farmers markets going out. We're completely finished with weekday farmers markets. We have our peddler trailer here that still goes out on Fridays and Saturdays. This is the first week of this 2024 season. We did not send it out on Wednesday because we just didn't have enough stuff. I didn't have enough help. So it's only going out on Friday and Saturday this week, Friday and Saturday next week, and that season will be over at our satellite stand. So the first thing I want to do this morning is look at our tomato inventory so I can see how many we need to pick and buy. I'm in our tomato cooler. Looks like I have 9 boxes right there and another 10, 11 boxes there. So we got about 20 boxes on hand. I could probably get by with 50 boxes, so we're gonna try to pick a few, and whatever we're short from the 50 boxes that we need, I'm gonna try to buy from the local Amish auction just to make sure I have some tomatoes on this trailer. So hopefully we can pick 15 or 20, that would be nice, and then I'd only have to buy about 10 or 15. Not a whole lot left out here. All right, 6 hours of irrigation complete. I'm currently out here in our final 3 sweet corn patches. We're picking that one tomorrow. This is the next one. It's supposed to be for next week. And this is our final one for 2 weeks from now. The last one and the second from last one, they're done. They're toast. The drought has completely devastated them. There's nothing in there. Looks like a lot of deer have been trampling around in here. Probably some raccoons too. I'm looking around and half of the corn does not even have ears on it. So this season is coming to an end very quickly. It's like 86 degrees today. September 8, is that 18th or 19th? 19th. And it's almost 90. We haven't had rain in 7 or 8 weeks. I mean, it is devastation on our non-irrigated produce. Let's go over and take a look at the corn patch we're picking tomorrow. I am counting on a couple 100 dozen ears for 2 of my farmers markets. But after looking at this, I don't have high hopes. All right, here's the corn we're picking tomorrow, and it is a sad crop. I mean, there is all kinds of disease out here. I'm not sure what this is. I mean, it's just dry and fried. I mean, there's a lot of non-harvestable ears out here. We're gonna pick a couple of the larger ones here. See what we got. They're a little small and the tips aren't filled out really well, but that's some nice corn right there. Outstanding. That ranks right up there with some of the best sweet corn I've tasted ever. The only good thing about a drought is that it intensifies the sugars a little bit. That is so tender and sweet. Incredible. The problem I'm thinking we're going to have, though, as soon as we get out of this low valley right here and start working our way up that hill, it's all going to be burned up. And you see there's little ears like that probably aren't going to amount to much. And then we get some big ones. Wow. I don't know. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. There's 16 rows here. We're going to be picking it at about 8:30 tomorrow morning while it's still cool. Yeah, I mean, just look at this stuff. I mean, it is just a crispy, dried mess. The patch prior to this was much better, but even it was starting to suffer up on top of the hill. I'm thinking we're going to get less than 150 dozen out of here. I wouldn't be surprised if we barely get 100. But you know what? As long as I can send 50, 60, 70 dozen to 2 of my markets, 2 of my better markets this Saturday, I'll be happy. After seeing what we've went through here the last 2 months with no rain. And this is going to be it. We're going to have to tell everybody this is our final Saturday with sweet corn. All right, I'm currently down here at our other farm where I keep my corn planter, mulch layer, water wheel transplanter, my nitrogen applicator, and right over here is the piece of equipment that we are hooking up to today. There's our chisel plow that I will be plowing over our ground with, where I put plastic, where I'm hoping to put plastic next year. There's a couple of my fun little toys. This is the Rainflow Challenger 1800 mulch lifter. So I'll explain real quick how this works. These are just depth gauge wheels. They have an adjustment that slides up and down, as well as these discs that kind of remove the buried edge, the dirt that's on the buried edge of the plastic. So not only does it cut vines, it also kind of throws the dirt off to the side because they're at an angle. This just hooks up with the 3-point system right here on the back of my 3020. These are spring loaded because you will hit rocks. And if you needed to go deeper, the easiest way is to raise the depth gauge wheels, and that allows more weight to go down on these disc blades to cut pesky vines, chewy vines up. So in the back of the machine are these cutter blades. And these are just common blades that you can pick up like at a TSC or something. And they go down under the raised bed with plastic mulch on it and lift it up. It breaks it all up. So not only are you getting the dirt removed off the shoulder of the bed, these come up underneath it and lift it up. And then the plastic goes through the back, and those 4 long fingers helps kind of fluff up the plastic and remove debris, weeds, old plant material off the plastic so it's lifted more easily. If you heard some noise in the background, it's my nephew Jake. He just arrived with a grain truck and he's unloading soybeans into one of our grain bins. All right, I'm gonna get this hooked up. We'll get down to the field and I'm gonna show you how I intend to use this today, because I'm not lifting plastic. Even though this is a plastic mulch lifter, that's not what I'm using it for today, and I'll explain when we get down to the field. As you just saw, I removed the lifters, the 2 lifter units on this Challenger 1800. And now I'm going to insert the center coulter into that slot right there. So this will roll down the center of the row and slice open the plastic and cut any vines or weed debris so we can remove the drip tape more easily. And I'll show you exactly what I mean when we get down to the field. Don't know how high it needs to be. We'll make some fine-tuned adjustments when we get down to the field. For now, let's just get it in there. Tighten down this little set screw to hold it in place. All right, I'm out here in our very first planting of zucchini and cucumbers, and they won't be bad. I almost don't know if it's necessary to run that center coulter down those rows, but I will, because it's only going to take me an extra 10 minutes. The watermelon tend to be the worst. Cantaloupes are pretty bad too, because there's so many thick vines that grow all through this patch that when we go to pull the drip tape up, it can't come out because it's getting held down by vines. So this is the degradable plastic, biodegradable. It's a cornstarch based plastic, I believe, but it just gets eaten up by the soil microbes, and I disc it in, and it'll all be gone by next year. But we have to remove the drip line. And if we just started pulling drip lines up right now, it'd all get tangled up in these vines. You might think it would break through them easily, and it does for a little bit, but eventually it just starts pulling up big, massive vines with you as you're driving down the row with a wagon, pulling the drip tape up into the wagon. So we're going to run that coulter right down the center of the plastic. It's going to split it open like that, and at the same time it's going to cut all these vines in half, and that way this drip tape can easily be lifted up out of the bed. It's buried about an inch or 2, you can see. You see how these vines are holding it down? That's the purpose of running the coulter down the row and splitting this in half. That drip tape is being held down and restricted by all those vines. And if you've watched my farming videos all season, you know we've been fighting morning glory. Even though they're all dead, even dead morning glory vines are horrific at trying to pull the drip tape through. So that center coulter will take care of all that. By the way, it is blazing out here today. It feels like it's almost 90 and it's pretty stagnant. I was dripping in sweat getting this piece of equipment ready. That's why I have my shirt off, and it feels so much better. And I figured I'd get some late season vitamin D while I'm at it. Alrighty folks, all of the plastic has been split down the middle, ready for lifting the drip tape. I'll be back out here first thing in the morning for sweet corn and cauliflower harvest and prepping box trucks for another busy farmers market weekend. All right, it's the next day and we're gonna give this sweet corn patch a try. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be our final pick of 2024. Up here on this hill, it is all burnt up. I don't even really see any ears. Maybe 1 out of every 10 stalks has a good pickable, harvestable ear. So we got Emma down here, she's gonna drive, and my son Blake in the red shirt and my nephew Jake in the green shirt. Let's see what we can get out of here. I'm hoping for at least 100 dozen.
Garden spiders out here. Me and Blake hate spiders. I thought Jake said he'd grab it by the neck.
Alrighty, I think that's a wrap on corn harvest for 2024. Looks like we got maybe 150 dozen there if we're lucky. Normally we don't finish harvesting sweet corn till the very end of September or into the first week of October. And that would be the case this year if these last 2 patches would have gotten adequate rain. But as I mentioned earlier, we haven't had any rain to speak of for at least 7 or 8 weeks. And it has definitely taken its toll on the patch we just picked, and obviously the next 2 patches, because there's no corn to harvest. A bunch of little mini ears and blank cobs with no kernels on them. So unfortunately, this is a early end to our sweet corn harvest. We're gonna run this back to the barn, get it packed up, and get it in the cooler. Now that we're actually packing this corn up, I'm realizing there's no way there's 150 dozen here. It looks more like 100 dozen at best. So unfortunately, only 2 of our markets tomorrow are going to have our homegrown corn. We're going to be sending it to Worthington and Clintonville. Those are the 2 that we can only sell what we grow. Now the Dublin truck I can put on Ohio produce, neighboring farms produce. And I did buy 2 bins of corn this morning from Northeast Ohio. However, that corn is going to be for the trailer, our mobile market trailer in Marysville. So no corn on Dublin tomorrow. Looks like just Clintonville and Worthington will have our last harvest of sweet corn for 2024. We ended up with 137 dozen, far less than the 700 we could have used this Saturday. Heading down to pick some cauliflower now. All right, this is typically not the size we harvest, but we need cauliflower bad, so we're gonna go ahead and take a few this size. So the way I do this is just pull back some of the big main wrapper leaves and cut directly underneath it, just like that. And then when I pull it out, you still got some of these long leaves on here. We just hack them off like that. And we want the base to be pretty level so it sets flat on our table when we display it. So that's how we want them to look, but obviously bigger. Looky here, a beautiful cheddar cauliflower. It's like the color of cheddar cheese. I still would prefer them to be slightly bigger. This is probably 5 inches across. I'd prefer them to be 6, 7, 8 inches across, almost the size of dinner plates, small dinner plates. But we are going to take this one. I'm gonna pull back some of the main wrapper leaves, cut right underneath the base of it, just like that. I like that base to be nice and flat so it lays on our table well. And you can see it only has a couple extra wrapper leaves that need hacked off. There we go, ready for sale. That's a beautiful head of cauliflower right there. I knew there wasn't going to be much cauliflower out here. Less than a dozen heads is my guess. But you know what? You got to start sometime. And if we don't take them today for tomorrow's farmers markets, they're probably going to get too ripe and not look good enough to sell for next Saturday. So this extreme heat is what's causing this problem. You know, all my other crops kind of came on earlier than normal this year because of the warmer than normal summer. But I think it had the opposite effect on cauliflower. So hopefully as things start to cool down, I know next week's forecast is calling for cooler weather. Hopefully that will increase the size of these heads quicker. So I'm hopeful that we'll have a bigger harvest next week, and then the weekend after that, which is going to put us into the first weekend of October, we should have a really good harvest out here. But my biggest concern right now is that a majority of these cauliflowers and broccoli are going to be ready for harvest after mid-October, for the final 2 Saturdays of October. I wasn't planning on doing farmers markets that late this year because I have nothing else to sell along with the cauliflower. We'll probably even be out of butternut and spaghetti squash. Onions will be gone after probably next weekend. So, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully we can just continue going to the farmers markets all the way through October to get cleaned up on all of our cauliflower. Here's a perfect example of a cauliflower that was ripe last week. You know, I didn't really come out here and look at them last week because 99.9% of them are not ready. But see how they turn purple? And the florets start to sprout up at different heights. It's not a nice tight curd or dome. It starts to sprawl out. You can see that right there. It's kind of, florets are opening up. There's nothing wrong with it. It still tastes good. It's just not as dense and pretty as it was last week if it would have got harvested then. All right, looks like we got a few early heads of broccoli ready. It's not the prettiest broccoli, but I think we're gonna go ahead and take some of it. I can tell these are not gonna get any bigger because the florets are starting to almost like bolt out of the dome head. So we're gonna go ahead and take those. Some of these later varieties are much prettier. They're just not big enough yet. Those will be ready next week, I think. We'll just skim down through here and pick some of the bigger ones. This is probably an environmental factor, just like ricing that happens on the cauliflower. The broccoli will shoot little leaves up through the curd, whatever you want to call that, the florets. Don't see that very often. That is very rare, very odd looking. I don't like that. At least it doesn't happen very often. You know, those are prettier. Just too small. There we go. That's what we're looking for. It's a nice dome shape. The beads are nice and tight. Doesn't have leaves in it. Doesn't have florets stretching up out of the dome top of the cauliflower. But it's a little on the small side, but we are going to take that size today. Put my hand over it. It gives you an idea how big it is, or how small it is, I should say. And the way we cut our broccoli, I just hack them off about 6 to 8 inches long, break off these main leaves, and throw it in the tub. That one's ready for sale. Well, we didn't get much, but it's a start. Only a tub and a half of cauliflower and about 7 tubs of broccoli. I'll be filming a lot of broccoli and cauliflower harvest in later videos. But today I just want to concentrate on getting these box trucks packed and get ready for farmers markets tomorrow morning. Ideally, we would need about 30 tubs of broccoli and 30 tubs of cauliflower, so hopefully that'll happen next week. Just been working on packing trucks for tomorrow's farmers markets. I want to give you a little rundown of what we have in our 3 box trucks heading to Columbus tomorrow. So I only got like a half dozen boxes of tomatoes. Haven't even put them in the truck yet. Still trying to figure out how I'm gonna divvy those up. That's not even enough to fill up a half a table and make a halfway decent looking display. We're getting low on onions. I gave everybody a tub and a half of onions. Next week, yeah, we're gonna be out. Joel is just about out of garlic. It looks like he had a flat and a half to give everybody of garlic, and that's about done. There's his 4, 5, or 6 flavors of maple syrup. These are just some extra tubs that we can tip upside down if we want to prop things up off the ground, you know, like our winter squash. We don't like to set our squash tubs right on the ground, so we'll turn one of these upside down, set a tub of these up on top, and then people can reach them easier. Same thing with our corn. These empty bean crates are just in here for setting on the ground to prop up our sweet corn. And speaking of sweet corn, tomorrow will be our last day of selling sweet corn. We ended up with 137 dozen, like I said earlier. That's going to be divided between these 2 trucks, Clintonville and Worthington. So it's not going to last very long. I'm guessing an hour and a half into the market, corn will be gone. In the back here, you can see we have 6 tubs each of spaghetti squash and butternut squash. So that's probably a half bin of each. Just easier to have it already tubbed up instead of just setting bins in here like we do with watermelon and cantaloupe. As you can see, the rest of the truck is still empty. I have not loaded any of the other produce, and I'm not planning to. It is far too warm. It was 91 degrees in Columbus today, still is, and like 87 here. So when it's that warm, I don't like to put peppers, zucchini, and cucumbers in the trucks. I can cover them with a tarp. They would probably be okay. I might put them in tonight right before dark, around 7 or 8 o'clock. But now that we are getting near the end of our produce season, it's a lot easier to load these on Saturday morning. I'll probably just wait and do it all on Saturday morning. Green beans as well, but I'll put that in the morning with corn for sure, not tonight. All right, I'm going to show you everything else we have in this truck. Our bag racks for customers to pull their own bag out to bag green beans, peppers, and other small items. 2 ABC canopy tents, these are 10 by 15s. We also have an extra 10 by 10 in here in case it's raining to cover up some more items. 5 plastic tables. 2 scales, and tomorrow morning I'll add, oh, there's the 2 credit card machines. What is that little black thing I see up there? Oh, I know what that is. It's one of these clips right here. It looks like it broke off. Yeah, it holds the table legs, snaps the table legs in. Oh, what else we got in here? So yeah, 2 credit card machines, 2 scales, all of our sign card holders for prices, empty quart containers for displaying green beans and tomatoes, sweet and hot pepper relish. Here's the tarp, which is just an old tent top. I will put that over the vegetables when I load them the night prior, which I'm not going to tonight, but that's what I use when I do for zucchini, cucumbers, and peppers. More quart containers, a broom for sweeping up our mess at the end of the day, more pull and pack bags, the round t-shirt bags, sweet corn bags for sweet corn and other big items like squash, and then 2 bag racks. Woo, man, that light's bright. Golly, I gotta stop looking at that thing. I'm gonna go blind. It's like I'm looking at the sun or at a weld. So I gotta make sure I'm looking at the camera. Wow. So that's everything in this box truck. Over here in the other box truck, it's basically the same thing, replicated, maybe just a little smaller scale. You know, a little less empty things to prop up tubs, a little less squash, but everything else is exactly the same. You know, except they only get 1 credit card machine. When it's really, really busy, like at the peak of the season during mid-July to mid-August, I'll also break out a square card reader for the Worthington market so all 3 of the sales staff can accept credit cards. And the final truck over here, Dublin. My brother will not be going to the Dublin market tomorrow. He is at some big fall fest at Indian Lake State Park selling all of his candy and maple syrup products and probably some more garlic. But I'll show you in here. He has all of his candy already loaded up. This is all freeze-dried candy. Man, those look good. Freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches. Oh man, I bet those are really good. Yeah, I'll have a special video showcasing everything that Joel does here soon. I'll show you his 2 commercial freeze dryers for freeze-drying all this candy. Looks like a taffy or something. Oh, Airheads. Huh. All kinds of goodies. Freeze-dried Skittles. Cotton candy. Oh, maple cotton candy. I bet that is fabulous. Obviously, you can tell what those are. And, oh my, Starburst freeze-dried in the wrapper. Huh. That's pretty cool. See, he puts all this stuff in late at night after I go to bed. This is the first time I've ever seen all this stuff loaded. So yeah, Joel brings a lot of his stuff here, and then we'll pack the rest of the truck full with all of our produce. Sweet corn, green beans, and peppers, zucchini, and cucumbers. So I have some spraying and bush hogging I probably should be out doing today, but it is just so dang hot. I think I'm gonna hold off and do that next week. So the only other thing I really need to get done today is unloading our mobile produce trailer when my son Gavin gets home today. He has about another hour of sales to go at our satellite location in Marysville. So when he gets home, we'll back it up here in the barn, right behind the box trucks. We'll get all the cooler items offloaded, and I'll restock it with non-cooler items like winter squash, onions, and tomatoes and things like that, so it's ready to go in the morning. This is where we're going to wrap up today's video, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see y'all again real soon down the farm.